So everybody knows about the big races of anime by this point. You got Zoro the Minority Hunter, you got Frieza, and you got Tobirama. But I would like to nominate a candidate to also be one of the big races, and that's Ryūken from Bleach. Now for the people who already watched Bleach, you already know, I don't need to explain it, but for the people who haven't watched Bleach, let me explain, let me break down why he should be up there. Now there are multiple races in Bleach, but two of the main races are Soul Reapers and Quincy's. And basically Soul Reapers and Quincy's do not fuck with each other. Quincy's was basically throwing off the balance of the whole fucking world. So you know what the Soul Reapers did? They wiped them bitches out. And so with that being said, Ryūken is one of the last Quincy's alive because the Soul Reapers wiped him out, and he hates Soul Reapers because they wiped him out. So with that being said, let's talk about Exhibit A. So Ryūken's mom, which don't even get me started on her, wanted Ryūken's future child to be a pure-blooded Quincy, just like her and just like Ryūken. And as I said before, most of the Quincy's were wiped out, so there were very limited options apart from this one girl. And that girl was Misaki. She was taken in by Ryūken's mom in order to be Ryūken's future bride. So with that being said, one day Ishin, who is a Soul Reaper, was getting absolutely slapped up by a modified Hollow. And Misaki, along with Ryūken, could both sense this fight going on, and they could sense that Ishin was in trouble. Now Misaki, being a sweetheart as she is, wanted to save him, but you know what this nigga Ryūken said? This nigga said, nah, we only go after they get they shit smoked. And even then, we don't even go. We send these mixed race niggas out there, bro, to go handle that shit. Like, are you out of your mind? This nigga literally sensed this nigga getting his shit absolutely rocked. And he's like, nah, we go after he get his shit folded. But once again, with Misaki being a sweetheart that she was, that shit wasn't sliding. So she went to go save him anyway. And you remember what I said before about Misaki being pretty much taken in to be Ryūken's future bride? Well, that plan went completely to shit because Misaki got bitten by a Hollow while trying to protect Ishin, the Soul Reaper. After that, she was taken to Urahara's place, where he determined in order for her to survive, she would have to spend the rest of her life alongside a Soul Reaper. So basically, Ryūken's future bride-to-be was completely taken away from him and forced to live with a Soul Reaper who he absolutely despises. And obviously this nigga was furious the moment Urahara said that she would have to live with a Soul Reaper. This nigga said, no! My nigga was in denial. He was like, ain't no fucking way. Nigga couldn't believe it, bro. He probably went home and stared at the ceiling that day. Probably had his speakers blasted in Marvin's room. But nah, that's the end of Exhibit A. Now let's move on to Exhibit B, which flash forwards a few years into the future. So at this point, Ryūken has a child named Uryu, who's also a Quincy. But Uryu is a friend of our main protagonist, who is a Soul Reaper. Not just the main protagonist, but also Rukia and Renji, who are also Soul Reapers. And long story short, while in a fight, Uryu had used a move that did a lot of damage, but in exchange, he loses his Quincy powers. And so obviously, needless to say, after using that, they left Uryu completely defenseless. And so one day he was out and about and he got attacked by two Hollows. And obviously Uryu didn't have any powers to defend himself. But then out of nowhere, like the dad who came back with the milk, Uryu's dad, Ryūken, just showed up and saved his fucking life. And we all thinking, the watcher, everybody thinking, oh, this nigga a walking W, he just saved Uryu's life. But you know what Ryūken told Uryu right after doing that? This nigga was like, hey, I can give you your Quincy powers back, but you can't hang out with them Soul Reaper niggas no more. And keep in mind, this is his first appearance in the fucking series. So this nigga comes out of nowhere and just tell this nigga, you cannot hang out with your homies no more. I'm just saying, can you imagine your father not being in your life since your childhood, and then all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere telling you, you can't hang out with your friends? Like, nigga, what authority do you have? But Uryu, being desperate, accepted it anyway. And that's the end of Exhibit B. I obviously feel like he was more of a menace when he was younger than when he was older, but my point still remains. And I know what you're all thinking, like, oh, the way he acts is justified, like, you know, blah, 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 they wiped out the Quincy, so obviously he's gonna be wary of the Soul Reapers. But y'all don't give Frieza a pass. Bardock Saiyan folded his ancestor, yet, you know what I'm saying, he still get labeled as a racist. Dude, Chia Clan folded Tobirama's brothers, yet he don't get a pass. And then you could also say that, like, he's friends with Ishin, who's a Soul Reaper. But my thing is, Zoro's friends with Usopp, who's African, and Tobirama had a Uchiha as a subordinate, Kagami. So my thing is, if they racist, then this nigga racist, right? So with that being said, I think I'll rest my case, and I feel like we need to start bringing up Ryūken in a conversation of racist in anime. But I'm gonna leave that up to you. Let me know if I'm spitting facts in the comments. Should he be labeled as a racist, or was he justified? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, that's it.